Blueface's mom, Karlissa, is speaking out, and she's not holding back.
The internet smelled blood, and it didn't waste a second. One house listing, one screenshot, one whisper too loud, and suddenly, Blueface wasn't just trending. He was allegedly broke, finished, washed, and counting couch cushions for spare change, according to the comment section economists. The moment his house hit the market, the money vanished, the empire collapsed, and the lights were about to get shut off. Except there was one problem. Karlissa wasn't having it, because while the internet was busy writing Blueface's financial obituary, his mother stepped into the mess like a referee who's seen this circus before. Calm? No. Polite? Definitely not. Strategic? Oh, absolutely. Karlissa fired back hard, loud, and with just enough venom to flip the entire narrative on its head. This wasn't a gentle denial. This wasn't a PR-approved clarification. This was a mother dragging rumors by the collar and asking who exactly started counting her son's pockets. And suddenly, what looked like a simple house sale turned into a full-blown financial scandal. With family, fame, and fragile egos all colliding at once, this makes celebrity money drama look like monopoly money arguments. Because when a rapper's mother starts clapping back, you already know there's more hiding behind the listing price. The internet didn't even pretend to verify anything this time. One house listing surfaced, one screenshot started circulating, and suddenly the conclusion was already written in bold letters. Blueface was broke, finished, down bad, according to the social media economists with Wi-Fi and too much confidence. The moment his house went up for sale, the money evaporated. The bank accounts dried up, and the downfall had officially begun. Because on the internet, selling property isn't strategy. It's surrender. The rumor spread like wildfire because it fit a narrative people were eager to believe. Blueface has lived loudly, controversially, and unapologetically. Which means the public has been waiting for a fall from grace chapter. They could dissect for sport, legal drama, relationship chaos, and public scrutiny had already primed the audience. All they needed was one sign to connect imaginary dots. And that sign was a house listing. No context, no confirmation, no explanation, just assumptions stacked on assumptions, dressed up as certainty. Comment sections transformed into fake balance sheets. People who've never closed on a home suddenly became experts on asset liquidation. Tweets declared bankruptcy without a single document. Memes compared the house sale to foreclosure, as if Zillow screenshots double as court filings now. The speed was almost impressive, but what really fueled the fire was silence. Blueface didn't immediately respond, and in internet logic, silence isn't neutrality. Silence is guilt. Silence is confirmation. Silence is whatever people want it to be. So the rumor ballooned, morphing with each retweet into something more dramatic and more humiliating. And then Karlissa stepped in, not with a carefully worded statement, not with PR-approved language, but with the kind of response only a fed-up mother can deliver, sharp, direct, and filtered. She didn't tiptoe around the accusation. She grabbed it by the collar and dragged it into the light. Her message was simple but cutting. Selling a house does not mean someone is broke. Moving money does not mean losing money. And the obsession with counting her son's pockets said far more about the audience than it did about Blueface's finances. That clapback hit like cold water. Because once she said it out loud, the logic behind the rumor fell apart instantly. Wealthy people sell property all the time. Artists restructure assets. Investments shift. Money moves. But when it's a rapper the internet already side-eyes, suddenly every financial decision becomes a red flag. Karlissa called it out without apology. She mocked the idea that strangers with no access to bank records could confidently declare a man's financial status. She questioned why people were so invested in seeing Blueface fail. And she did it with enough sarcasm to make it clear she wasn't asking for approval or understanding. That response changed the conversation immediately. Supporters flooded in, applauding her for defending her son and shutting down what they saw as lazy, malicious speculation. Others accused her of being defensive, of overreacting, of doing too much. As if letting people publicly declare your child broke without pushback is the expected response, B. And here's the part critics didn't want to acknowledge. The rumor was already disrespectful. Karlissa didn't escalate anything. She responded at the same volume it arrived, and that's what made people uncomfortable. Because once the emotion is removed, the rumor looks ridiculous. A house for sale is not a financial obituary. It's not proof of struggle. It's not evidence of collapse. It's a transaction. And yet the internet treated it like a confession because it wanted to. Why? Because celebrity culture thrives on collapse narratives. Success is boring. Stability doesn't trend, but the idea of someone losing. It all gets clicks, likes, and smug satisfaction from people who never benefited from the success in the first place. Blueface selling a house gave critics an excuse to rewrite his entire story in one headline. Karlissa wasn't letting that happen quietly. Her clapback didn't just defend Blueface. It exposed how fragile public perception really is. One rumor can outweigh years of documented success. One listing can undo millions earned. One assumption can become fact if repeated enough times, and once she said that out loud, the rumor lost its power. But not without a fight. Critics doubled down. Dissecting her tone instead of her argument, they focused on how she said it, rather than what she said. Because when the facts don't hold up, people attack delivery. It's easier to dismiss a messenger than admit the message is right. Karlissa didn't flinch. She made it clear that people counting another man's money without receipts is not commentary. It's obsession. And obsession doesn't become truth just because it trends. That moment marked a shift. The house sale stopped being the headline. The reaction to the rumor became the story. And that's when things started to spiral beyond real estate into reputation warfare. Because once money rumors hit, they stick. Even after they're debunked, they linger. People bring them up later like unresolved charges. They resurface anytime something else goes wrong. And Karlissa knew. That's why she didn't whisper her response. She said it loud enough to interrupt the cycle. Whether people liked her tone or not didn't matter. The damage control was done. And suddenly, the question wasn't is Blueface broke? It became why do y'all want him to be? That's a much harder question to answer. Because it forces people to confront their motives, their enjoyment of downfall narratives, their comfort with turning speculation into humiliation, their eagerness to believe the worst with zero proof. Karlissa didn't just shut down a rumor. She pulled the curtain back on how quickly the internet decides who deserves grace and who deserves ridicule. Once Karlissa's response hit the timeline, the rumor didn't die, it mutated. Because nothing upsets the internet more than being corrected with confidence. The house sale stopped being the story. And the reaction to the reaction became the new battleground. Suddenly, people weren't just debating Blueface's finances. They were debating Karlissa herself, her tone, her motives, and whether she had the right to speak at all. And that's when the chaos escalated. The same people who had no problem declaring a grown man broke based on a Zillow screenshot suddenly became etiquette experts. They didn't argue the facts, they argued delivery. They said she was too aggressive, too emotional, too involved. As if rumors whispered with a smile are somehow less disrespectful than a mother defending her son loudly. Memes exploded overnight. Screenshots of Karlissa's clapback were edited, captioned, and turned into reaction bait. Some praised her as a real one, calling her the internet's unofficial rumor control department. Others mocked her, painting her as doing PR damage control for a financial collapse that still hadn't been proven. The irony was painful. People who had no evidence doubled down purely because they didn't like being challenged, and then celebrity commentary entered the chat. Not directly, of course. Nothing is ever direct in this world. It came through likes, subtweets, emojis, and vague statements about internet assumptions and counting other people's money. Influencers with similar past rumors suddenly found themselves sharing opinions that felt a little too personal. Financial literacy gurus popped up out of nowhere explaining how asset liquidation works, as if the lesson wasn't obvious from the start. The narrative fractured. One side argued that Karlissa exposed how ridiculous the rumor was. The other side insisted that her response confirmed something was wrong, even though they couldn't explain what that something was, because when logic fails, vibes take over. And the vibes, according to critics, were suspicious simply because they wanted them to be. This is where pop culture comparisons ran wild. People compared the situation to past celebrity money rumors, dragging up examples where artists sold homes, moved assets, or downsized for reasons that had nothing to do with being broke. Others reached even harder, treating the house sale like a distress flare. One viral post joked that this makes celebrity finance discourse look like middle school lunch money debates, while another said the internet was acting like selling a house is the same thing as selling plasma. The sarcasm was loud, but the tension underneath it was louder. Because money rumors hit differently. They don't just question wealth, they question worth. And when a rapper is involved, those questions get tangled with stereotypes, assumptions, and a hunger to see arrogance punished. Blueface's controversial image made him an easy target, and Karlissa's refusal to stay quiet disrupted the narrative people were enjoying too much. Public outrage split cleanly down the middle. Supporters accused critics of projecting their own insecurities and frustrations onto someone they don't know. They pointed out the obsession with seeing Black artists fail financially while celebrating the same moves when tech CEOs or actors do them. Meanwhile, critics accused supporters of being delusional, of defending the indefensible, of refusing to read the signs everyone else was supposedly seeing. But those signs never materialized. No unpaid bills surfaced, no lawsuits over foreclosure, no evidence of financial collapse. Just a house for sale and a rumor that refused to let go because it was entertaining. And Karlissa kept talking, not constantly, not chaotically, but enough to make it clear she wasn't backing down. She reiterated that strangers don't have access to private finances. She mocked the idea that internet speculation equals truth. She challenged why selling an asset was framed as shameful instead of strategic. Each response tightened the screws on the rumor's credibility. That persistence changed the tone again. People started asking different questions. Not is Blueface broke, but why is this rumor being pushed so hard? Why does a house sale trigger so much excitement? Why does success have an expiration date in the public imagination? Why does silence mean guilt, but defense mean desperation? Those questions didn't trend as easily, but they lingered. Reaction channels scrambled to adjust. Some doubled down, milking the drama while pretending to stay neutral. Others quietly pivoted, reframing the story as internet speculation gone too far. A few deleted earlier posts without explanation, which only added another layer of mess. Because nothing fuels suspicion like content being scrubbed. Meanwhile, Blueface himself remained largely absent from the noise, and that absence became its own controversy. Critics said his silence proved the rumor was true. Supporters said it proved he didn't owe anyone an explanation. The truth was probably far simpler. He didn't feel the need to respond because his mother already did, and because addressing every rumor gives them oxygen. But the internet hates that answer. The outrage machine needs engagement. It needs escalation. It needs new angles. So when the house sale stopped being shocking, the focus shifted to family dynamics. Why is his mom speaking? Why isn't he? Is she protecting him? Is he hiding? Is this a pattern? None of those questions came with answers, but they didn't need them to trend. This is how rumors survive. They evolved. By the end of this phase, the original claim barely mattered anymore. The house was background noise. The finances were hypothetical. The real story became perception versus reality, and Karlissa's refusal to let strangers define her son's narrative. And that refusal made people uncomfortable, because it challenged the unspoken rule of celebrity gossip. Sit quietly, let people talk. Don't disrupt the story they're enjoying. Karlissa broke that rule, and the internet didn't know how to handle it. So it argued louder. But volume doesn't create truth. It only reveals motive. And as the noise grew, one thing became undeniable. This wasn't about real estate. It wasn't about money. It was about control over the story. By the time the noise reached peak volume, the rumor had already done its damage, not because it was true, but because repetition has a way of disguising fiction as fact. Blueface's house sale became a symbol people could project onto, and Karlissa's clapback became the lightning rod for everything the internet wanted to argue about but never resolves: money, fame, control. Who gets grace and who gets dragged? And here's the uncomfortable part. The rumor didn't survive because it made sense. It survived because it felt satisfying. Watching celebrities lose it all is a sport online. It's the moral dessert after years of watching someone live loudly, imperfectly, and unapologetically. When a rapper sells a house, the internet doesn't ask why. It celebrates prematurely. It writes endings it hopes will come true. And Karlissa standing in the way of that fantasy annoyed people more than the rumor ever could, because she disrupted the payoff. As the days passed, the conversation shifted again. This time into long-term consequences, not for Blueface's bank account, but for his public image. Once the word broke attaches itself to a celebrity, it clings like smoke. Even after the fire is out, people swear they can still smell it. That's how reputation warfare works. You don't need proof. You just need repetition and timing. Karlissa understood that, which is why she didn't treat this like a throwaway rumor. Her involvement reframed the story as a family defending itself against public entitlement. And that reframing forced people to confront an ugly truth. The internet feels entitled to answers it hasn't earned. It demands transparency from people it wouldn't extend basic respect to. And when those demands aren't met, it fills the gaps with assumptions and cruelty. That entitlement showed its teeth fast. Critics accused Karlissa of overstepping, as if motherhood has an expiration date once your child becomes famous. Others claimed her defense hurt more than it helped, even though they couldn't explain how shutting down false claims creates harm. What they really meant was that she made the rumor less fun, and that's unforgivable in gossip culture. Meanwhile, the house sale itself faded into the background, quietly proceeding like any other transaction. No foreclosure headlines, no emergency filings, no dramatic fallout, just a property changing status. The absence of evidence didn't kill the rumor, but it weakened it. The story needed new fuel, and without fresh scandal, it began to stall. That's when the focus turned inward. People started questioning why they cared so much in the first place. Why did the idea of Blueface being broke feel so believable? Why? Did it feel deserved? Those questions don't trend, but they linger, and they expose biases people don't like to admit about who is allowed to be wealthy, about how long success is supposed to last, about how quickly mistakes cancel prosperity. Karlissa's response forced those questions into the open, and while critics pretended it was about tone, the truth was about power. Who controls the narrative when the internet decides it wants a downfall? Who gets to say no to a rumor and be believed? Who is allowed to defend themselves without being accused of guilt? The answers weren't flattering. For Blueface, the consequences were mixed but undeniable. The rumor added another layer to his public perception, one he didn't ask for but now has to carry. Every future move will be filtered through this moment. Every financial decision will be scrutinized by people who learned nothing from being wrong the first time. That's the price of visibility, and it's rarely fair. For Karlissa, the outcome was clearer. She cemented herself as someone who won't play passive when her family is targeted. That comes with backlash, but it also comes with clarity. People now know where she stands. And in a culture that thrives on ambiguity and quiet suffering, that kind of firmness is disruptive. The broader impact goes beyond one family. This episode exposed how easily the internet confuses access with authority. Seeing a listing doesn't grant insight. Reading a tweet doesn't grant expertise. But social media rewards confidence, not correctness, and until that changes, rumors like this will keep cycling through new names and new houses. The real aftermath isn't about money at all. It's about perception hardening into narrative, about how fast the internet decides who is winning and who is failing, about how rarely it pauses to check whether it's rooting for truth or just for spectacle. Karlissa's clapback didn't just stop a rumor, it interrupted a ritual, and rituals don't like being interrupted. As attention drifted and the next scandal queued up, one thing became clear. This story didn't end with a definitive answer because it was never really asking a real question. It was asking for entertainment. And once the entertainment dried up, people moved on, leaving behind assumptions that will resurface the next time a headline feels convenient. That's the real damage of rumors. They don't need to be proven. They just need to be remembered. Karlissa understood that. That's why she spoke when she did, how she did, and without apology. She didn't wait for permission to defend her son's name. She didn't soften the message to make it palatable. She confronted the narrative head-on, knowing full well that confrontation would bring heat, and it did. But it also brought clarity, because when the dust settles, the question isn't whether Blueface sold a house. The question is why people were so eager to turn that sale into a symbol of failure, and why a mother saying that's not true felt more offensive than the lie itself. That tension doesn't disappear. It just goes quiet until the next listing, the next rumor, the next opportunity to speculate without consequences. And when it does, remember this moment, because this wasn't about real estate. It was about control of the story, and for once, the people at the center refused to let strangers write the ending for them. Now, before you click away and let the internet move on to its next favorite rumor, let's be real for a second. This story wasn't just about a house. It wasn't about a listing price, a screenshot, or somebody refreshing Zillow like it's a bank statement. This was about how fast the internet decides who's winning, who's broke, and who deserves to be laughed at. And that should make you pause. So if this whole situation made you shake your head, laugh out loud, or say ain't no way people believed that, do what you're supposed to do next. Smash that like button like it just counted your money without permission. Drop a comment and tell me where you stand. Was Karlissa right to fire back? Or should she have stayed quiet and let the rumor burn itself out? No soft answers. Pick a side and defend it. And don't forget to subscribe, because this channel doesn't chase gossip after it's dead. We catch it while it's still lying to your face. Every messy rumor, every celebrity clapback, every moment the internet pretends it's an expert, we're already breaking it down. When the next broke headline pops up with zero receipts, you'll want to hear it here first. Turn on notifications and stay locked in. The internet never stops speculating. And celebrities never stop being misunderstood. If you miss one update, the comment section will fill in the blanks for you, and they're usually wrong. So stick around. Stay curious. Stay skeptical. Because in a world where rumors travel faster than facts, knowing who to listen to is everything. And when fame gets messy and narratives get ugly, we don't flinch, we expose it. Fame flaws.